What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, got an unboxing of about $6,000 in books. Some pretty cool ones in here, so stay tuned to see what we got. Alright, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got two boxes here, said about $6,000 in books. Covers, I think I've got Bronze Age, Silver, Gold. There might be something in the copper, but some pretty cool books. Excited to get these. One that's kind of an unintentional book that I've been hoarding recently. So with that, I'll start with this larger box here, and we'll see what we've got in this one. I generally remember what's in each one of these, but sometimes I wait a little bit to open them, so I don't remember exactly what's in each box. I know what's in the smaller one. I have a pretty good idea what's in this one. Looks like they are so they've got it in 3 separate packages here. Now, I know there's a mix of raw books and graded books. I think there's one CBCS, a couple CGC, and then some raw books. Alright, so got all the books out. So there's 3 raw books here and 2 graded books. The other box also has 2 graded books, which I'll get into right after this. Start with the raw books. First one here, this is a book that I have been picking up any chance I can get. And this is Fantastic Four number 6. And so this is the second appearance of Dr. Doom, the second appearance of the Silver Age Submariner. It's the first Marvel supervillain team-up, so with Dr. Doom and Submariner. And it's a low-grade copy. It has an extra staple added up there at the top that you can see, and it's detached at the top staple. Looks like it's attached at the bottom, but you know, it's something like a 1.5 to a 1.8, probably around that range. But in general, I love picking up this book because Fantastic Four number 4, the first Submariner, so you can see it out of the bag there. So definitely has some wear, and tear to it and everything. But it's got this stamp on here, Bob Hughes and where he lives. So, but yeah, no, this is one that I'm always trying to pick up because issues 4 and 5 have gotten so expensive, and this one is a key in its own right. Plus, you've got them all on the cover, meaning Dr. Doom and Submariner, as well as every member of the Fantastic Four. And so I think this is just a great book, to pick up because it's still expensive. It has definitely gotten more expensive, but it is more affordable than issues 4 and 5, and you're still getting really good early appearances for those characters, a great cover, and like I said, it's also kind of a minor key in terms of first appearances because that first Marvel supervillain team up. Now, because it's October, we've got Halloween coming up. I've got a couple horror books, some pre-code horror books. First one, this is actually a pretty big issue. This is Tales from the Crypt, number 33, and this is the origin of the Crypt Keeper, and just it's kind of a creepy, cool cover with, looks like a mummy that's like posing for a photo shoot, and just these creepy guys in the back. But in general, this is it's a nice looking copy. I'm very happy with this copy of this book. I think it looks really, really nice. There's some definite spine wear. That's really going to be what hurts this book's grade. A little rust on the staples. But when the rust hasn't really migrated through all that much, it really doesn't impact the grade as much as I think a lot of people think it does. You can have rust on staples on some relatively high grade books. But yeah, this one, very happy to pick this book up just because it's a tough book to come by, and like I said, within the pre-code horror runs, it's actually a key, being the origin of the Crypt Keeper. Then the next one, I think this is just a cool cover. There's actually a kind of a cool story behind this one as well. So this is Tales from the Crypt number 38, and according to Overstreet and some other things that I've read, this cover used to actually be more violent. They actually they softened it to make it a less violent cover. So they don't say what exactly it was before. I don't know if there was blood on the axe or if he was actually hitting a person or what it was. But this one again is a lower grade copy. You can see a lot of wear along the spine. I think it's probably around a 3, something like that. The staples look good, look intact. There's a crease down the front, but in general, a nice presenting copy. I mean, I like these copies that don't have pieces missing out of the front, and they look especially nice in the Mylar. They look really good. So happy with both of those books. And as I mentioned in the market videos that I do and everything, I've seen so much strength recently in Golden Age, especially in things like the horror genre, that I think they're great books to pick up. I like going after them anyway. I have unintentionally started having more and more of these pre-code horror books, so if you want to check out some of the ones that I have, the ones that I talk about, I've been posting pictures of them on Instagram for the hashtag 31 Days of Horror Comics. But now let's get into the slabs. The first one here, this is a book or series of books that I have just been recommending to pick up for speculation purposes. And I don't think you can really go wrong with it. And this is Star Wars #1. This is a 9/2 white pages copy. And the Star Wars books, since we haven't had any news on Star Wars for a little while, the prices on them have been dropping, and that's when you pick these up, because I think it was just today there was some information leaked about the Book of Boba Fett show, so that's coming up. That starts on December 29th, so there's not a lot of time if you're wanting to pick up books that feature Boba Fett, like Star Wars 42, Star Wars 68, Star Wars 81. I would go after those. Also that Marvel Super Special #16, the magazine, go after those books now before some type of trailer comes out, because I would predict those books going up and other Star Wars keys like this issue here. Star Wars 1 and 2 are really some of the biggest ones. You have a lot of first appearances, and I know some people think of first appearances in comics here a little differently, just because you've got the movies, so it's not really the first time you ever see this character. The first time you saw them was in the movies. But from the perspective of comics, first appearances of those characters, and so this is a big book to get. And like I said, the prices have been dropping recently, so that's when you've got to pick those up. Now this one, I am a sucker for 9/8 newsstand books. So if you're not familiar with newsstands versus direct editions, the direct editions are what were sent basically to comic shops. Newsstands went to newsstands like spinner racks at 7-Eleven, that kind of thing. And so with the newsstands, you tend to have a much harder time finding really high grade copies, because they took a lot more damage being on those spinner racks, not being immediately bagged and boarded, that kind of thing. And even in the early 80s, so it's basically starting about 1979 when you differentiated between direct edition and newsstand. And even then, in 9/8, in almost every book, it is harder to find that newsstand. Not in all of them, but in almost every book it is. And this is one example where it is much harder to find the 9/8 newsstand of this book than the direct edition. And this is New Teen Titans #2. And this is the first appearance of Deathstroke. And this is the newsstand, which you can tell because it has the barcode down here. I can't remember for DC what's down there. I'll try to find a picture of one maybe and throw it up over there, what the direct looks like. But I really like picking up 9/8 newsstands because they're so much harder to come by. They generally command a premium, and so those are what I personally like to go for. I like having something that, in an era when there's a lot more of these books, when there are relatively high numbers of 9/8s, 9/6s, having something that differentiates it some, being the newsstand, that's what I like to pick up. All right, so now the second box here. There are 2 books in here, and they are both graded, but one is CBCS and one is CGC, and I'll talk about that a little bit because I know most of the books that I buy are CGC, and so I think generally most people expect me to purchase CGC books, but I have no problem buying CBCS books. I have nothing against CBCS. I think they grade essentially the same as CGC, with some exceptions, which I have talked about. I think in the really low grades, like with the 0.5s, 1s, 1.5s, I think CBCS grades easier. I agree more with how CBCS grades in those lower grades. I think that CGC throws way too many books into the 0.5, where you have complete books that they're still grading as a 0.5, which I think is ridiculous. But that's for something else. But so I will pick up CBCS books if I think they're a good price, especially when you're talking about more rare books, golden age books, that kind of thing. Then I definitely consider them, because with some books you can't be picky. You know, like the availability of some of these books is so low that you buy what you can find, and that's one of the areas where it is really important to be able to evaluate a book yourself. And so if you think a book is graded properly, overgraded, undergraded, it doesn't matter what slab it's in. If you can evaluate that book, you can tell yourself what you think the grade is in that, and if you're comfortable picking it up. Now, first book here is Amazing Spider-Man number 122 in 8.5 white pages. This is the second part to the Death of Gwen Stacy story. First part is that yellow cover with all the faces on it, and that's where she actually dies. And that book definitely goes for more, but I personally like this cover more. I really like this cover. I think it's bright, it's got great action on it. You've actually got the word bubbles and all that, and you know, Spider-Man saying he's going to kill Green Goblin. And so I think this is just an awesome book to get. Really cool book. So this is the first one. And one thing that was, I'd say, a bit surprising, I did a poll on YouTube maybe a couple weeks ago. I was asking people what their favorite Amazing Spider-Man books were. And, you know, I put out the normal, YouTube limits you to like 5 entries. So I put out the normal kind of like big keys and big villains, that kind of thing. But one that popped up that people would do write-ins for all the time was Amazing Spider-Man 121. And so that one, it is definitely a big story, and one that is really important. And so definitely don't overlook Amazing Spider-Man 121 and 122. Those are very important books within the Amazing Spider-Man storyline. Now, here's the second book, and this is the one that I said that I feel like I've kind of been unintentionally hoarding it, because I now have 3 copies. It's a Golden Age book, and I'll put this down here. And this is Archie Comics number 50. And this is this classic Betty cover, good girl art, kind of like seductive type cover. I think it is the best Archie cover that there is out there. I think this is just one of the best Golden Age Archie covers there is. And so I have a couple other copies of it. So we'll first, this one is a CBCS 4.0, and then in an unboxing a couple weeks ago, I had a CBCS 3.0, and this one actually presents a little nicer, but you can see along the spine, it has what looks like is some type of maybe worm damage or something, where something essentially like ate along that little section of the spine. So this is the type of flaw I really like in these books, because the cover really looks super clean, but the damage is along the spine. This one was also a white pages copy, which was nice. And then this was my first copy that I had ever gotten of this book, which is a CGC 2.0. Which also I think presents really nice, because it has I think it's a split spine, or no, a detached cover, and then there was tape along. There was tape at some point along the spine, but somebody removed it before they got it graded. And this one is the highest graded copy that I have now, in a 4.0. And actually, you know, looking at this one, I would say it hasn't been pressed, and so I'm gonna show that so you can see those are pretty big dents that are in the cover there that should come out pretty easily if somebody was going to press it. The question is, would it get outside of a 4? The main flaws on here is, you can see just along the spine, it's relatively beat up. I believe it looks like it's attached at both staples, but barely at that bottom one. So you take risks if you're going to get this pressed when you have a staple that's like that something could detach or something could split. It has some creasing in the corner up there, and some creasing in the corner down here. So the question is just, if this was cracked out, would it get up to a 4.5? I don't know. There's a little writing on the back. I'm not sure if that's pen or pencil, but still, you know, these are the types of books I like to get where you don't have any pieces out of the front. The picture in general looks really nice. It's one that maybe I'll consider getting this one cracked out and seeing what it gets in a CGC case. I have to think it would probably at least get above the 3.0. Like I said, I'm just a little worried about that lower staple. I don't want something to happen where that ends up detaching, because then that would be really bad for the grade. But in general, nice presenting copy. And so now I've got a 2, I've got a 3, and I have a 4. I am currently trying to sell the 2, but I'm not in a huge rush to do it. So I do like these books, and so I'm never in a rush to just like get rid of them or anything like that. I do really like these Golden Age books, especially ones like this that are considered keys in the runs, and so I'm never in a rush to sell them, so I don't mind having a few copies of it. But hope you saw maybe some books that you hadn't seen before. One that I think, like I said, is especially cool is this one, this Tales from the Crypt number 33. It's just such a tough book to get, and really happy with this one. But hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. Got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here if you'd like to subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.